If this movie was your first introduction to the word Avatar, I am so sorry, because it was a brilliant cartoon first. And it's Thursday, you know what that means? It's time for us to have another Throwback Thursday. And we're gonna go back in time, throw up that celebration, because Heart of the Stories we tell, and me, Rob the host, is going to take us back to a quick nostalgic look and see how a story was that might be a little bit on the older side. So celebrate your week almost being over as we look at Avatar the Last Airbender, the story of Aang. And you know what? It was made by Nickelodeon for Nickelodeon, and it was brilliant. Before I go too far, though, I do want you to know that what I do here is create content specifically for people that like stories and want to understand more about them. Today we're going to be reviewing Avatar, but in general, I do Throwback Thursdays for older stories, reviews as new stories come up, and of course, my weekly videos on the storytelling. Hit that subscribe button now if you're interested. So, Avatar is the story of Aang, that would be this character. And as he grows to become the Avatar. What's the Avatar? Well, that's a long story, but the opening sequence gives the best in-depth explanation I could hope for.
Water. Earth. Fire. Air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished.
Bending elements is the magical ability to create, harness, and use the individual element. The Avatar is the one that can control all four of them, while everyone else can only control one, and actually most people can control none. All in all, it's a great series, based on some awesome ideas, and it's so badass, I give it an Electrum rating. Now, those symbols you saw behind them is probably the inspiration for how everyone acts. Well, not technically anime, because it was animated here in the States by mostly Americans. It obviously has a lot of oriental flavor and feel to it. And before we get too far into it, I'm going to have to throw this up there. So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time. Each season was set up as an individual book. Book 1, Book 1, Water, Book 2, Earth, Book 3, Fire. Yes, there is no Air chapter, and there's a reason for that when we get into the characters. But let's start with the beginning of Elements of Fiction, the setting. It's a pretty small world, built up of four nations, each one based on the elements. Now, even though they say it's four nations, there's really two water kingdoms, Northern Water and Southern Water, and the Fire Kingdom has taken over most of it. If you look, though, you can see there's a little bit of disparity on the land masses. It's a relatively volatile setup where the kingdoms are all independent but still have to work together. Now let's move on to characters. Like I said, benders are important, and our primary benders are our water bender, our air bender, and our fire bender. However, later in the series we are introduced to an earth bender, and the firebender actually starts off antagonistic and becomes a protagonist. The main three at the beginning of the series are these three. That's Aang, Katana, and Sokka. Katana is the waterbender, Aang is the airbender, and Sokka is not a bender. Aang is the airbender and the avatar of the show. Now, this little kid and this old guy, King Bumi, are the same age, because Aang ran away from home when he realized he was the avatar to avoid the responsibility, got cryogenically frozen by accident, and then found by the siblings. Katara is a waterbender who only has a little bit of knowledge, and her brother is the youngest warrior of the tribe. Once they discover Aang, they realize that he isn't powerful enough yet to save the world, so they travel around to try to get him teachers in different elements. Now, later in the series, when he needs an earthbending teacher because Bumi, the king, his friend, isn't around, we have introduced to Toph. Toph is one of the most interesting characters, and one that makes the transfer over into the next series, actually. Born blind, she teaches herself through these moles how to earthbend and how to see through a tremor sense. And then we have the Blue Spirit, who kind of helps them out, but is actually Prince Zuko in disguise, and Prince Zuko has been outcast from his home and has been told the only way he can come back is if he catches the Avatar. So again, starts off antagonistic, ends up protagonistic. Of all the characters in the show, he is probably my favorite. Zuko is stubborn and headstrong, but actually has a strong sense of honor. But okay, let's get to the plot. Most of the time, the plot is pretty linear. There are a few flashbacks and history lessons. This guy's the Fire Lord, and he invaded the other countries, tried to kill the Avatar. These guys found the Avatar, and are trying to use him to bring peace back to the nation. All in all, it's basically a nice child-friendly adventure romp with some really serious consequences. So let's keep moving. On to point of view. And the point of view characters are these three. For the most part, it's actually Aang, relearning everything about the world that he slept through so many years of. And that's a great segue into theme and symbolism. The most powerful person on the planet is a 10-year-old kid who doesn't know how to handle emotions and doesn't know what he's doing. If that's not the perfect analogy to everyone growing up, I don't know what is. And then we have the fact that the elements themselves each represent something. So there's some symbolism right in the opening of the show. And then there's the way they do their bending. Each subset of bender has its own specific martial art style. And it's actually very interesting when you look at it. But let's break down into what's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good I could go on and on about. They have relatable characters, they have interesting animation, they have subplots that are very engaging intellectually. They went out of their way to create martial arts styles that are based on actual ones, but at the same time feel new and different. And of course, each character has their own distinctive personality that you can tell just quickly without having to resort to cliches. The bad is that in order to keep it kid-friendly and to keep it on Nickelodeon, they had to neuter some story points. The love story between Aang and Katara, the entire way that Zuko does what he does, even just everything gets toned down just a little bit. The violence is still there, but it's kidified. And you know what? That's not always a bad thing. But in this case, there's also a little bit of childish humor that I think would have been left aside if it weren't for Nickelodeon. Overall, the cartoon is awesome. And because of that, the ugly gets put into the movie itself. Oh my god, in order to try to make an adaptation that was several hours worth of cartoon, they ripped it off and they made everything suck. It is only the second movie I'm giving the Mercury rating to. And, I mean, seriously, there is no need to watch it. Even though it's the same basic story with the same characters, although slightly oddly altered, just go watch the cartoon. Book 1, Water, is awesome. At least that's my thought. Wonder what yours are. Have you seen it before? And if not, would you like to? Let me know down in the comment section. Elemental-themed kids is kind of funny, because there was another show that did it. So next week, we're going to be looking at that one, just to compare and contrast. But that ends another Throwback Thursday, so if you enjoyed yourself, hit that like button, share this video, it really helps me out. And of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and enable alerts. I'm trying to build a community here, one where we can talk about the pros and cons of all the stories. So let me know down in the comments what you think, and help me build this up, so that we can all take a walk through the heart of the stories we tell. I hope you have a good day, and thanks for watching.